Welcome back. In this video, I'm answering a viewer question about the S-corp. So they were looking for an S-corp advisor / business consultant to help them apply the details of their situation, right, to the things they've heard about the S-corp. I think this question really represents a ton of people and business owners. So if you find that you've had questions about your S-corp election or considering it, stay tuned. You're going to love this video. And if you would like to submit a tax or accounting question or about your business finances, check out the link around here or in the description down below this video. I'd love to hear from you. Keep in mind, I cannot answer individual questions, but I will use those submissions for video topics. And if you want more information about the S-corp or to learn more about any of the tools that I show you in this video, be sure to check out my free workshop, The 6 Common Mistakes Business Owners Make with the S Corporation. If you missed the live workshop, there will be a replay, so be sure to check that out if you want to go deeper. So let's jump in. Here's the question. I am starting the process of creating an S Corp as advised by my tax accountant. He and a lawyer are setting this up for me, and I'm grateful for that. I'm not a finance person, and I want to make sure I'm starting out on the right foot. My accountant is wonderful at what he does, but I'm not able to get all my questions answered to where I fully understand and feel comfortable. I have watched many YouTube videos, read articles, and now I even purchased a book. I get the core concepts. Now I am looking for someone I can sit down with to take the generalized statements and concepts around the S-corp and apply them to my situation specifically. I do not want to be any more educated than I need to be. I just want to make sure how I intend to operate is both lawful and takes advantage of the laws in place today to maximize my return. I'm not looking for a long-term commitment or to enroll in any class per se. I just want to explain the specifics of my situation and lay out the way forward to get me going, and then the best way to maintain that. An advisor, a tax and business advisor is what I'm looking for. And then this person goes on to provide some specific questions. I want to be able to ask questions like this. The first one, Company X is going to pay me $20 an hour. I will generally work a 40-hour week, but there could be some weeks I work over or under that amount. Here are the data around my reasonable comparable salaries for the work I'm doing, but they didn't include any, but I'm assuming that they're saying like I look at them and then based on that, I think my monthly salary should be X. The question for me is, do you agree? If not, why not? And what do you suggest and why? What about for months where the hours worked really change? Like I took a big vacation. Do I change what the payroll company is paying me just for the month? Or do I keep it the same no matter what and adjust through distributions? What are the benefits and what are the drawbacks? Okay. So first, I want to address the intro there before we got to the first question about the S-corp. I used to meet with a lot of business owners one-on-one, and this was how I realized that there was such a need, that people really want to understand things in a different way that they're not getting from their financial advisors. I mean, look, you have a lawyer and a tax pro, and you've read all this stuff and you're still not getting it. So let me tell you, it's not your fault. It's the way our entire system works. But you don't necessarily need to sit down with me one-on-one, because what I've done is I've created tools that help you do exactly what you want to do, okay? The first of those tools that I have is the business tax types comparison spreadsheet template. This allows you to enter your business income and expenses and estimate what your taxes would be like in different business types. And we have a single version and we have one for married owners as well. A big part of what makes the S-corp save taxes is your reasonable compensation paid to the owner. And that's what that first question was about. And I have a tool all for that. So I'm going to come back to that in a moment. The reality is, a lot of books and the way people teach taxes and accounting, it isn't for someone who doesn't know it. Really what you want are the tools that I've created that boil things down specifically for small business owners and help you do the things you want to do. Save taxes with the S-corp, right? So unfortunately, what happens is there tends to be a bit of disconnect between lawyers, right? Lawyers offering to elect S-corp status for you. And then when you ask, what's it going to save? They tell you to go talk to your tax accountant. I had that happen where the lawyer told me, this was when I first formed an LLC by going to a lawyer. Now I teach people how to do it themselves, and I have a course on that. The lawyer said to me, and so can I elect S-corp status for you? And I was just getting started. I had no income. It makes no sense to elect S-corp status in that situation. So I said, why would I do that? And she said, well, you would know better than me, right? But if I hadn't been a tax person sitting in that chair, right? If I had been any other type of business owner, she would have said, talk to your tax accountant. It saves people money, right? Which is very misleading. You're not going to save any money until you're making more than what you're paying yourself in reasonable compensation. So it adds a lot of hassle if you don't need it yet. And that's what my business types tax comparison spreadsheet is about. Okay. Now, if we jump into that first question about basically how to calculate what you're paying yourself in your business, using a few sentences to kind of say, this is an average salary. Do I agree? Well, no, I don't agree. And that's because you want to put a lot more effort into your reasonable compensation amount to, number one, make sure it saves you money, right? And number two, to make sure that if it's saving you a lot of money, the IRS might come asking about it. And so you want to make sure that you can prove that that was the correct amount. And the only way to do that is with documentation. There's no specific things that the IRS says you have to do. So looking at all the court cases that have happened, I created a spreadsheet template, a few methods for calculating reasonable compensation. So when it comes to calculating reasonable compensation, I have two different methods. The first method is really for if you're doing a lot of the actual work in your business, like, you're doing everything yourself, then this first method may get you to the lowest reasonable compensation amount, because we're going to take all the tasks you do in your business and we're going to look at who you could hire for each of those tasks and for how much money. And so because you're spreading out your hourly based on individual tasks, we're able to get you to a much lower amount. Alternatively, if you're doing more of a management type of business, then like you said, choosing some salaries, coming up with an average of multiple salaries, okay? However, we have another step here, which is testing our salary amount. So you'll come up with two salaries, and then you want to choose the one that makes the most sense, and then take it through this checklist to test your reasonable compensation. And you want to answer all of these questions because this is your support that you considered all of these variables, right? And you aren't just trying to save taxes. You're actually showing why you chose all this. Because remember, you're biased, right? So you're removing your bias by taking all of these notes now and by having all of this prepared. Now, for the second part of the question, it was, what about the months where the hours worked really changed? Like I took 2 weeks vacation. Do I change what the payroll company is paying me just for that month? Or do I keep it the same no matter what and adjust through distributions? And adjust through distributions is a whole other comment to add in there. That makes it a totally different question. So I'll just answer at the start first. So first of all, you choose, just like if you're hiring someone, how to structure your pay. Are you being paid? You're going to choose a reasonable compensation amount, And generally take that amount, and then you could do an hourly if you wanted. But the way it's really set up, compensation for someone running a business is usually salary. So you want to use that salary, and you want to include in your salary, your vacation time, and just like if you work for another company and you get a package, right? You are going to define all of those aspects of your position and your pay. Now, when you set and adjust through distributions, you want to be really careful to keep distributions and payroll separate. Basically, if distributions look like pay, they can reclassify it as payroll, and then you owe fines and penalties for not having paid payroll initially when it was due. So you want to be really careful that you keep your distributions and payroll separate. Now, the benefit to taking a distribution is in the S-corp is that there's no self-employment taxes on the distribution. So that's why the S-corp ends up saving money. So if we see this example, $300,000 business income, $100,000 expenses, $160,000 reasonable compensation salary in the S-corp. Okay, if we look at what our results are here we can see that self-employed is actually saving taxes to the S-corp by like 3 or 4%. However, if we take the CUBID calculation out of the picture, qualified business income deduction, then we can see that they're very similar. So we have CUBID until 2025 or 2026 is when we no longer have that deduction. So you want to consider, right now, I generally don't recommend people that are starting out to elect S-corp because you don't get CUBID on your S-corp salary. So see, if I add CUBID back in, it's 31,000, almost 32 for self-employed, and only 5,000 for the S-corp. However, if we change our reasonable compensation down to $20,000, then you can see we save tons of taxes. However, I do not recommend just reporting any salary below $50,000 without some serious documentation of the amount you're going to pay yourself. And our last question is, even starting up the business and using my personal money to pay the lawyers and consulting fees, how does the business pay me back for that and when? Basically, yes, you keep track of that. Presuming you're an LLC that's elected S-corp status, you track all the money that you put into the business. And while you can use a spreadsheet or something and just track it, you need to have a complete accounting record for your LLC separate business. And we have a spreadsheet template set up to do just this. It replaces having to use software like QuickBooks, but it also teaches you about the accounts that you need to track in your accounting record. So you'll see here we have this owner equity category. And this is how you track when you put money into the business and when you take money out of the business. You use these accounts, owner contributions and owner draws, to keep track of these amounts and to make sure that you get credit for everything you put in, credit for everything you take out. Our spreadsheet template lets you have an entry worksheet for each of your business, bank, and credit card accounts, and to track every single transaction and balance in the business. And then you'll have an income statement report that tells you exactly how much money you make. And we also have a balance sheet report that lets you know the balances in all of your bank and credit card accounts. And lastly, I have what's called a basis calculation spreadsheet template. So in order for the money you take out of the business to know that it's not taxed, you keep track of what's called basis. Now, this is actually a fairly easy thing to keep track of. It's just learning about it and doing it. It really doesn't take all that much time, but it's just a step that a lot of people miss. So these spreadsheets are all part of my Master Your Accounting and Taxes program. And it sounds like this person asking questions would really benefit from these tools that I have created and these courses. So I wanted to answer these questions. Please let me know if you have any follow-up questions in the comments down below this video. If you can relate to our question asker, do let me know. Otherwise, if you're new here, consider subscribing. Or check out all the links in the description down below to get a hold of these various programs and tools that I've covered in this video. Or use the link to post your own question. Or check out that link to submit your accounting, tax, or business finance question. I'd love to hear from you. All right, see you next time. Bye.